Okay.
I'm happy. So, George, welcome to 2026. It's the end of January. And as we were talking there, your book, which you can talk about, has been successful. And it's always great to be invited to a party. It's another thing to be invited back.
Well,
And
that's
I
great. I
understand
appreciate
that
it.
you've been invited to talk about a second book. So, do you want to talk about that now and then get on with what you want to share tonight?
Well, the I haven't really gone public with the second book. Um,
Well, if you don't want to talk about it, we won't talk about it.
Not really,
Okay. Well,
because
we'll
it's kind
we'll
of a
do that again.
conflict.
We'll do that again.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Well, just between you and I'd like to keep that news down the line because this is all happening so quick. I basically just signed the contract today,
ah,
so it's all fresh. But the good thing is, Miles, it's Miles, correct?
yes, it's Miles,
Yes.
and you are George.
Is that the book's already done? I have like 5 books sitting on the shelf waiting to go.
Well, that's what I was thinking of. I think the last time we talked, that you had that kind of thing. So, do you want to talk about? Well, let's talk about what you want to talk about. So, we're in the second thing, and let's get
You
on with
are
it because
so easy.
this Mars thing. There's so much evidence with the existing NASA imagery, and but there's a lot of AI fake stuff going out there. But I mean, let's it's just once you start seeing that little square or the little bit that's a little bit, oh, who put that there, that sort of, there's a thing called the cosmological anthropic principle. If you find a tooth lying in the sand, you had to have a creature to eat something to have a tooth. Therefore, there must have been something causing that, and therefore this happens, and therefore it must have been eating this or eating that. That kind of thing. It's a bit like finding the slate on a roof. You've got to have a house to have a slate, therefore civilization, and all that stuff immediately happens. So take it away,
Well,
George.
well, you're right. Once you start finding structures, geometry, not only in the single formations that we're finding, but a lot of times these are all aligned with their fellow structures that are in the area. So there's a lot of evidence of intentional design. And like you said with the tooth, once you start finding buildings and structures, they didn't get there by themselves. Somebody had to build them. And then, of course, that opens up a whole can of worms about, was this an indigenous people that built these? Were these extraterrestrials that built these? Why were they abandoned? Is there anybody there now? And ask all these other questions that kind of, you know, divert all the attention away from what we're looking at. And the whole idea that you spoke about currently, the last couple of years, actually, mostly last year, 2025, there's so much AI material on the internet now. It is just mind-boggling. You can't keep up with what's real and what isn't real because they can make these things, look so convincing. And that's why it's important with my work. I document everything. Everything is, I provide the NASA images that I acquired the images from with links directly to the images. And, I don't alter the images at all. I don't do any funny business with them. It's all, the only thing I'll do is maybe light and dark contrast. That's about it,
Yeah.
because sometimes NASA has a propensity to release images that are all washed out. They like to put a lot of
What?
light, pump up the light so you can't see anything.
I'm. Whew, that's hit me by a bit of a shock. Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God, NASA diverting attention from their images. I
Well,
can't believe
okay.
it.
A lot of people, maybe it's a bit sort of open season on NASA. I mean, what do you feel about that? I mean, are they deliberately hiding things, or are they giving hints to things they would like to hide, but if you happen to find it, oh, what? Well, that's good luck to you.
Well, that's kind of how NASA does it. They take these pictures and they very rarely have any kind of scientific analysis. It appears like they're just a photographer taking pictures and they don't do anything. They don't even have an art exhibit. I mean, what are they doing with all these pictures? And a lot of science papers that are published, they use these images. I've looked through a lot of them, read some of them. The images that they use are really not processed well. It's hard to see what they're talking about. And they're all talking about geology, the past history of Mars. You know, they're all convinced that Mars was a Goldilocks planet, you know, billions and billions of years ago, but not now. And there's no evidence of anything on Mars, and that's the story they're going with. And if you find anything, they ignore you.
I mean, there's all this sort of stuff about when the original. I huge fan of Mars. 1977, the Viking lander landed and stuff. And the first picture that we had, I think I mentioned this before, on New Scientist magazine, which is a respected big magazine in the UK and globally. They had blue sky. And that meant too many people asked questions. So you had somebody walking around the press gallery switching off the blue gun on the red, green, blue on the monitors. And, you know, where does this lead us?
Well, they're always playing around with the color images. And they, you know, the little landers do have a barcode with, you know, it has a color palette on it, and it's supposed to regulate, you know, when they do the color pictures, they have the color plate right there on the little rover, and you can monitor, you know, how well they're doing the tuning up the red or the blue. But it appears that, you know, the evidence is that Mars does have a small atmosphere. There's evidence of clouds. NASA has taken pictures of clouds on the planet. They like to exaggerate the dust storms on Mars. You know, you can't have a lot of powerful, destructive windstorms when you don't have much gravity on a planet. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but it just doesn't make any sense that you'd have.
Well, this is the point. You've got a different view on things, but you're not a scientist.
Right.
So that allows you to see things which maybe you are allowed to see because you're not a scientist. If you were a scientist, you wouldn't be allowed to see certain things.
Right, and I think we talked about this before. In my book, I make it clear in the beginning that I'm not a scientist, never was a scientist. My background is art. I'm a painter and a sculptor. I exhibited up in New York. I used to live in New Jersey. I'm now in Virginia, but I exhibited for many years throughout New Jersey, Pennsylvania, up in New York. And that's my background. And it's just that, you know, I know structure when I see it.
Exactly.
And,
that's the point.
That's my talent.
Know structure when you see it. You've got a better eye at it than maybe a scientist full of equations and mathematics.
Right. And as we all know, Carl Sagan famously said that intelligent life here on Earth reveals itself through the geometry and regularity of its construction. So when you see geometry, and what we're going to talk about later today, when you're ready, we'll do that PowerPoint. And what I'm basically going to share with your audience today is the best of examples of structures on Mars. And I have like 100 examples, but I don't think we'll get to all of them.
Listen, we've got all the time in the world if you want to show the whole lot. It's up to you. I'm interested. We don't have any time limits.
It's overwhelming the amount of data that NASA has acquired with Mars. And they document these areas over and over. A lot of them, you know, they have a dozen pictures of the same area that they take over the years. So if you're a scientist and you want to look at an area, what you want to do is you want to verify the shape of the structure through different times, you know, different time periods, different times of the year, different sun angles. So you can verify that this is actually a three-dimensional structure that you're looking at, not just what they used to call the face on Mars, you know, trick of light and shadow. So, yeah. And of course, when you have sculpture, three-dimensional sculpture, light and shadow does help to make it look three-dimensional.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were meaning by tricks of light and shadow.
Well, I think I'm not going to use the term hyperdimensional. That's used by somebody else. But the point is that we're dealing with a very serious situation here. I mean, we're now dealing with Elon Musk. We're not messing about here. We've got a space program which is as fast as you could develop and get things built and get them up into space. This Artemis thing's a joke. But you've got a...
Elon's not very happy about that.
I'm sure he isn't. I'm sure there's no politics.
The media over here likes to say that Trump and Elon are on the outs because of the Doge, you know, when they were investigating all of the corruption with spending going on. But actually, their falling out was NASA's pushing this Artemis, and it's basically just a political stunt. They want to have a woman come down the stairs now. That's why it's Artemis. That's the twin sister of Apollo. That's why it's called Artemis.
There's quite a lot of significance in that. They're not messing around why they call these things these names.
Well, they deal a lot in symbolic gestures all through NASA's history. And so that's what they're trying to do with Artemis. They had Neil Armstrong come down the steps. Now they want to have a woman, first woman on the planet, or on Mars, or the moon. I'm sorry, losing my concentration here. Yeah, they're going to be landing on the moon, and they want to have a woman come down the stairs, basically.
Well, that's. I think there's a very good movie on about NASA. It was a woman in production who remarketed NASA. It was out a couple of years ago. I forget the name of it, but these things are important, and these get dollars in and makes things happen. So,
right.
I mean, there seems to be politically something that needs us to get to Mars fast. So what you're doing is actually helping get the dollars in, perhaps, and make it all work. Do you see? Is that so? Does that work?
Well, I wish I was that important.
Well, I think though that kind of thing is very important, because this gets the build-up of seeing stuff that we need to see.
Well, Elon Musk, he's all gung-ho to go to Mars and build the colony, and that's part of Mars's history that we talked about last time, the possibility that some extraterrestrial runaway culture came here, hiding from their planet or whatever kind of conflicts they were having, and that's how they set up bases here on the moon,
I think there is enough accepted scientific evidence that one half of Mars got blasted and the other half didn't receive as much of a blast. So there's evidence of some huge catastrophic event of some kind.
Well, yeah, that's a whole different story. That goes back to the early part of the solar system, when possibly between Mars and Jupiter was another planet, planet X, we'll call it, that possibly blew up.
Marduk,
and that's what caused the asteroid belt.
Yeah.
And that's what caused all the damage on the side of Mars. But according to my scenario, Miles, we don't have to have life on Mars. These structures were built on Mars after it was a dead planet.
Oh, after?
Oh, yeah. All these structures on there Mars was used as an outpost by this culture, this scenario that came to our solar system.
I mean, it could be Atlanteans or whatever, whatever happened only 10,000 years ago here or whatever.
Well, we have evidence accumulated by 3 different sources about a time period. We have Dr. Brandenburg, who's finding the Xenon 129.
Yes, that was on the tip of my tongue. Yes. So
he found a timeline about 1 million years ago. And then we have this guy, his name was Joe McMonagle, who worked for the CIA, and he did the...
the remote viewer.
Yes. Yep. And through his experiments with the government, they were trying to envision what happened to Mars. He found that it went under some type of nuclear war or some catastrophe about 1 million years ago. So you have 2 separate sources picking on 1 million years ago. And then we spoke about this last time about the Maya, with the Maya Star Wars, talking about a history of a conflict between Naranjo in Mexico with Tikal and Cozumel, that had this conflict with Mars, which they called Six Earth Place. And those battles happened. Now, it wasn't the Maya that did this. This information was bestowed to them. It wasn't the Maya that were having this. This was ancient culture, but this is history that they had knowledge of, that there was some kind of conflict between Earth and Mars, and again, 1 million years ago. They're actually 896,000 years ago is the number they use.
And of course,
so
the calendar's never changed and time's linear.
Well, it's pretty weird. So we have 3 references for the 1 million years ago with some type of major catastrophe on Mars. And that could have been part of the timeline with this scenario, with this culture coming in here, having a conflict with either an outside force or maybe between them. We can't even get along with ourselves here. So it could have been an internal problem.
Yeah. Well, let's not talk about current politics right now.
So So Miles, so what we're seeing on Mars is the ruins of this culture that was, I call the outpost. They were there to protect Earth. That's why they built these colonies on Mars. So if this threat came into our solar system, they could fight. Like George Bush said during the wars over in the Middle East, it's better to fight them over there than to fight them over here. So they fought on Mars, they fought on the moon, and eventually they probably got taken down on Earth here too, also.
Yeah, so because
So it's a long and complicated
there seems to
history.
be clear evidence of structures on the moon as well.
Oh yeah. So there's evidence they probably did have a base on the moon and Mars. I mean, the Sumerians, the Anunnaki, talk about having bases on the moon and on Mars. So there's a parallel there.
Well, if you got them on Mars, you're probably going to have them on the moon and probably Venus or whatever else, you know.
Yeah. Well, Venus was pretty much burnt up when that. See, my scenario is that the reason we had dinosaurs on Earth is because all the planets were in different positions. We were further away from the sun, so we had less gravity, more oxygen. That's why you had dinosaurs. They're huge sizes. If you were to genetically make those today, like Jurassic Park, they couldn't live. They couldn't stand up. There's too much gravity.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So
yeah.
Yeah. So in this ancient times before Planet X blew up between Jupiter and Mars, when that blew up, it pushed the planets closer to the sun. So Venus burned up no matter what was on.
And I mean, the astronomers talk about this. The astronomers have said
this all makes sense.
It doesn't take too much to destabilize the solar system, and perhaps Mercury was the moon for Venus, which destabilizes the Venus thing and all that.
Correct.
It gets pretty hectic once those things start happening.
Yeah. So once all this happened, Venus moved in closer, burnt up. The Earth had less gravity, less oxygen. All the dinosaurs died. That's what killed the dinosaurs. It wasn't a meteor. It was the gravity. And so that was what left Earth with the dinosaurs gone. And of course, all the smaller reptiles, you know, they say through the fossil record, they all survived because they were smaller and able to be in the ground. And when that blew up, it hit that one side of Mars, and that's why you have all that crater damage on the one side of Mars. Also, our moon has a lot of crater damage on one side. Anything that hit Earth, you know, because we're a living planet, it all disappeared, you know, covered up with foliage and whatever.
Yes.
So now you're left with a dead Mars. We don't know who was on the planet that blew up. And as time went by, my scenario is some other group had to come in and set up a base on Mars, which was a dead planet. And they were an advanced culture. So that's why everything on Mars is so big. We're finding these structures. They're a mile and a half. They're huge pyramids that are up there because you could build big things with the low gravity.
But there's also evidence that there were very tall people in not too long ago here, or people walked into buildings on a horse.
Oh yeah,
you know, there's fireplaces which are like 8 feet tall or something. You know, that kind of thing.
Tartaria.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, there's that. Don't mention. Don't mention.
No, don't talk about that. Yeah. So, so yeah, there were probably, you know, whoever came here, they were probably taller. And there's evidence that, I mean, Smithsonian Institute destroyed every giant that they found in the American Indian pyramids and stuff. They were all taken back. We have no idea where they went. Oh, they say they were lost. We don't know.
Apparently,
you know, they had 10-foot giants that they found.
Apparently, there's a couple of their original publications locked away in the Smithsonian, which has this information. The original time they published the original stuff before they suppressed it, which is
some of the first original. They're actually, you can find them on the internet. The actual the Smithsonian archaeological reports talk about these 8-foot, 7-foot, 10-foot skeletons that they found. And then, of course, the detractors say, "Oh well, they didn't measure right." You know, they were scientists; they were pretty accurate.
Apparently, there was 2 very tall skeletons in the museum in Dublin. I mean, it's not. There were tall people walking about.
There was, and that this all may be related to what happened on Mars.
So, do you want to start your presentation, and we'll sit back and relax?
Sure.
I'm very excited by this. This is very.
We'll do a screen share. I got it now.
Brilliant.
You only have to show me 3 or 4 times.
And I've got you on a third screen here, so I can see you. So I'm going to see if I can use that. So That's great. I'm able to use that on a, if I can get this big enough, but this'll work.
Yeah, well, I don't care if they see me. As long
Well,
as they
no,
get to
I've
see
got
the
it. I've got you available.
Okay.
I've
Well, this is the
I've
Great
spent
Architects of Mars, a new series that I'm starting here, showing the best of. This is stuff